Hi guys, it's Pamakeen here. So today's video is a little bit different than usual. We're not doing the vlog. This video is a special one for me because we'll be talking about cameras. So a little bit about this camera. I've had this Fujifilm XA3 for a really long time. It's been collecting dust for 9 years. So we never really used it because when I was watching videos about it, I saw this really good photos from people, but however, whenever I try to use it, it wasn't the same for me, and then I realized it was better taking photos on my iPhone than this one because I couldn't get a good photo on this one. So I forgot about all of it. It was just collecting dust in the drawer. Up until recently, I was bored and started to learn about photography. Then I realized when you actually search this camera online, there's not a lot of tutorials on how to use them. But I figured it out, and that's why I'm here to help you. That's why today I want to talk to you everything you need to know about this camera. So today I want to walk you through everything you need to know about this camera. So if you're already own one or own similar on the XA line, or you're planning to buy a second-hand one, this video is for you. So you might be wondering, is a 2016 camera still worth it in 2025? My answer is yes. This camera is lightweight and compact and has a 24 megapixel sensor that's perfect for everyday casual shooting and social media. Not only that, the prices of cameras have increased so much with the trend of film cameras and digital cameras nowadays, and Fujifilm XA3 trended that the price increased so much. This camera, you can buy it fairly cheap because it's more of like the lower one, but it still gives you that really good Fujifilm characters and colors without breaking the bank. Plus, it's a really good camera if you're still learning and you don't want to invest in like a more expensive one, you know, like the XM5 or T32. It's a really good camera. Apart from that, without paying so much money, you get that popular Fujifilm colors that's just beautiful straight out of the camera, so you don't need to edit your photos. It gives you that rich cinematic film kind of photos if you're into that. Okay, so let's move to talking about the body first. So on the camera, I know the dials are a little bit daunting, but on the top of the camera you'll see an on and off button. There's a function button, and then there's all like custom different programs. In front of the camera you'll see the manual. There's M, C, and S. That M means manual. That manual means you're doing everything for the camera. The camera is not taking over anything. So you're doing the shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, and also focusing. That's what the manual focus. So if you're a beginner, I suggest you stay away from that until you actually learn how to do the three. However, it's a good way to practice manual shooting as well if you are ready to start learning that. Letter C actually means continuous. So continuous is more for shooting moving objects, sports, and like you're in a place where your subject is moving. S is for single shots, so it's more of like freezing time. Mostly for portraits and things like that, I use single, and then continuous for when my friend's dancing or anything like that. Of course, you need to adjust it as well. I use manual when I have my manual lens on, just because it's a manual lens. So I just change it to manual as well, and then change to manual on here as well. So this is actually a vlogging camera. You can tilt the LCD screen so you can view yourself when you're making a vlog, but I rarely use this for vlogging just because I own a Pocket 2, which is what I'm using now. So this camera for me is mainly for photography, but if you do use it for vlogging, it actually makes a really good video, makes it more cinematic, and all you need to do when you take camera shot is you press this red camera button there. On the top here you have the exposure compensation dial, so that is photo is still a bit too dark, but you don't like this. How I understood it, I'm not a photographer or anything like that. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a photographer. I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning, but I'm just here to help anyone who was in the same situation as me when I was still learning. Okay, so exposure compensation dial is for adjusting the brightness and the brightness pretty much. For example, you can see at the bottom of this overexposure and underexposure. I tend to leave it in the middle of the bar, means it's balanced, but it depends on your style. If you like underexposed image or you like a little bit more brighter, but I suggest it's always better to stay in the middle and adjust the brightness if you want to edit it, just because it's harder to edit if the photo is overexposed. Second part is you have the function button. You can change whatever you want to put on the function button, but for me, I set it to the ISO just so I could change the ISO. So I have changed the settings for the automatic ISO as well, between 200 to 800 and then 200 to 3200. Normally for daylight, I like to keep it between 200 to 800, and then when I'm shooting at the nighttime, I use the 200 to 3200. Few things you need to know is the higher the ISO, the grainier the photo is gonna look, but that's okay if you don't understand all those things. I'll teach you a secret way to know. Anyway, so this one's just like your gallery, so you can see your the photos you took, and then just a back button, and then Q is just for a quick to see your settings, and then you have the delete button and autofocus one to set where your autofocus is, but you also have this option on the side to select where you want to select the autofocus, and then the white balance on the other side and the self timer on the other side. Menu is in the middle. It's just kind of like for like adjusting settings and things like that. There are different types of settings here. So you'll see CM, ASP, SR plus, advanced, SP, and like a photo of a head, and then a mountain, like someone running, and the moon. So basically, those ones are good for beginners. It's just telling you for night shooting. If you go to the sport, it's for shooting moving objects. If you don't know how to adjust ISOs and shutter speeds and things like that, in landscape, for shooting landscape, as you can tell. And then portrait is for shooting people, so it gives you a little bit of like smooth skin finish and things like that. And then SP is for shooting like a clear night scenery. And then advanced is just like advanced filters, just like there's like a lot of different filters on it. There's like fisheye, star filter, and all those things. I personally don't use any of them, but if you're that person who likes to have a little bit of fun with those, you can go through that setting. And then SR is just when you take a photo, it kind of detects what the photo is and then adjusts it automatically for you. So if it detects like a human, it kind of like, you know, like that. It like makes sure that the portrait is like clear skin and things like that. That's a good way to be on as well if you don't know what to do, but I personally don't use any of them just because I couldn't put a film simulation in them. So the reason why I like this camera is because of the film simulation. So I mainly stick with C, M, A, S, and P. Let's start with letter P. So P is program mode. So program is automatic. So if you do set your ISO like I did, remember I set it automatically between 200 to 800. If you put it on P, it automatically set your aperture as well, and shutter speed. So if you don't know anything about those three, it'll be good to keep your camera on P. If you have it on shutter priority, that means you can manually control your shutter speed, and then it would automatically decide what the aperture is and the ISO for you, but it would follow the shutter speed that you put in. If you have it on A, that means it's aperture priority. I often put mine in A, just because I like my aperture in certain number. So the lower the aperture, the blurrier the background is. So I usually like to keep it really low, unless I'm taking a photo of a landscape or like a group of people. But if it's just like one person, I like to keep it low just so we could have like a really good blurry background. So I just put it in aperture priority, and then I just take photos and it automatically does everything for me. Manual is, like I said, you do all three. Set ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. And then The C is a custom shooting mode that you do for you, like you set for yourself. The problem with the other features apart from the letter C, I couldn't use the force flash on it. The force flash only comes out when it's on the C. I don't understand why. If you know, comment down below. But if I want to use the flash, I always put it on letter C so I can, yeah, see. So the flash is on the side. You just need to press it up for it to go up. Now, talking about the menu. So when you go to menu, there are different settings here that can be a little daunting to look at. Usually I just put the film image quality to fine, which is like the best one, and then dynamic range to auto. And then my favorite film simulation is classic chrome. So there are different simulations in this camera that you can play around with to get that film look. My favorite is classic chrome. And then I adjust like the other things based on what kind of film that you're trying to emulate. Give me 1 second. Okay, I don't know where we left off, but I believe I'm talking about film simulations. So there are different kinds of like film simulations that you're after, like Kodak Porta 400, Kodak Porta 800, Kodak Gold, and all those things. You just need to find whatever film simulation that you like, which if you do not know how to do it, there's an app called Fuji Weekly. You can search what film you like, and then there's recipes there that you can follow, such as like adjusting sharpness to -2, and then highlighting the color, changing white balance, and all those things. So you just like play around with it to adjust what film that you like. To be honest, that's where I first started. I kind of like looked around what film that like simulation that I like, and then over time I kind of like played around with the color, not sticking to the film simulation itself. I would use some as a base, but then I would tweak it a little bit to match what I like. So here are the photos that I took with my current film simulations. If you want to see what my current film simulation with this one, comment down below as well. We'll make a separate video for that one. I'm not sure if I've covered everything, but I think I did. So basically, to make the long story short, if you don't know how to use it, keep your camera on P mode. Anyway, so like final thoughts, even though this camera is like 10 years old pretty much, it's definitely far from useless. So if you're a beginner who wants a lightweight camera and a cheap one that won't break the bank but still get that real crispy good film, Fujifilm photo, you can try and getting any camera from the XA line. I used to think that the kit lens was a bad lens, so I got like few lenses, but it's actually a really good lens. The limitation was me and my skills. But if you buy like just the body itself, there are cheap lenses like the DT Artisans. That's really good for this camera. One thing that you need to know though is this one is a crop frame, so that means you need to multiply the lens to 1.20, like 1.25 or 1.5 to actually get the focal length that you want. Okay, for example, if you want a 35mm focal view, you should get a 23mm lens. If you want 50mm, you should get like a 35mm lens. Okay, but anyway, if you're watching this video, let me know if you own one of these or you're planning to get one of these. If you have any more questions as well, like just comment down below and I'll try to answer them or make a separate video for you guys to assist you on your photography journey, and we could at least grow together, like learning how to use this thing. Bye bye.